Tuesday's session, I was not able to get up on our class YouTube channel because the file was lost. So with that being said, if you come to our class YouTube page, which is here, and you are looking for Tuesday's lesson, which was the 29th, it will not be here. The file was lost. It's no way I could recover it. So the Kill Boat Annie lesson, if you need help with that, you guys can schedule a Google Meet with me. Today we will be having a Google Meet session according to our Canvas, and of course you guys are all here. First, I want to commend you all because and you can give yourselves a hand because you guys are really patient with technology and you guys are willing to give it a try. So give yourselves a hand. I will be sending a class shout out to all of your classmates to let you guys know that I appreciate you all for trying. I wish that you guys could encourage my first class to at least try technology, okay? And you guys are really giving it a try. You guys are really doing the best that you can, and I appreciate you all for that. If we go into our meeting agenda that we have today, you guys know the expectations. You're always here on time. You always have your camera on, microphone muted. I don't have an issue with you guys blurting out. You guys participate. You guys are on point. Let me see if I had a question in the chat box. I did hear a little ding. So let me see here. What we'll be doing today is our literary elements lesson. So today we will be talking about literary elements from a reader's standpoint and what literary elements look like as we're reading. I want to send you the notes. I just really need you guys to watch and pay attention to the video and the examples that are mentioned in the video. We will complete our discussion form on literary elements of your favorite book. So while we are reading and learning about literary elements and watching a video about literary elements, I need you guys to be thinking about your favorite book. Think about how these elements that we are learning applies to our favorite book. You'll have a chance to share that with your class. And then we'll take a literary elements quiz that I will also send to you. And then we'll have our closure. All right, guys. So let's get started on this video here. The video that we'll be watching today is about literary elements. It's also in our Canvas. So if you click next, you'll come across the notes that you'll receive today from me in an email, but these notes will be filled in. And if you hit next again, you'll see the video that we're getting ready to watch. Okay, everybody good?
It's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct, but
today you're going to learn about literary elements or parts of a story. As you watch the video, print the worksheet and use it to take notes and practice what you learn. So, what is a literary element? Well, element means a part of something, and literary means about literature or stories. So, a literary element is a part of a story. In this video, we're going to learn about 8 literary elements: setting, characters, plot, conflict, narrator, theme, mood, and tone. I'm going to give you a definition and an example of each literary element from the movie and book Finding Nemo. The main goal for this video is to give you a basic introduction to each one and help you identify the literary elements within a story. Each literary element has many details and some complex information, but in this video, we're covering just the basics to introduce you to each one. The first literary element we're going to learn today is setting. The setting is when and where a story takes place. As an example, the setting for the story Finding Nemo was in the Pacific Ocean in modern times around the year 2003. How do we know that the setting was the Pacific Ocean? Did the movie say that? Did the book say that? It didn't. We know that the story took place in the Pacific Ocean because Nemo began in the ocean near the United States and ended up crossing the ocean to Australia. The ocean between the United States and Australia is the Pacific Ocean. And how do we know that the year was 2003? Not all stories or movies tell the year. The story in movie Nemo doesn't tell the year, but we know it's 2003 because that's when the movie and the book were released or published. The next literary element we'll study is characters. Characters are people and animals in the story. As an example, the characters in the movie Finding Nemo included Nemo, Marlin, his father, and Dory, a friend who helps Marlin find Nemo. There were other characters in the movie, but these three were the main characters. Our next literary element is plot. A plot includes important events and actions in the story. For example, in Finding Nemo, 3 important plot events include that Nemo gets lost, then his father Marlin searches for him and eventually finds him. The plot includes more events than these 3, but these 3 are the most important. Number 4, conflict. The conflict of a story is the big problem to solve. For example, in Finding Nemo, the conflict is that Nemo is lost. Number 5 is narrator. The narrator is the person telling the story. Remember that the narrator is not the same as the author. The author creates a narrator to tell the story to readers. Most movies don't have a narrator. Books do have a narrator. The narrator of the book Finding Nemo sees the story but isn't part of the action. The movie Finding Nemo doesn't have a narrator. Number 6, theme. A theme is the story's message about life. Sometimes stories have more than one theme. For example, in Finding Nemo, one of the themes is that fear is an obstacle to goals and wishes. The message is, fight your fears. That will help you accomplish goals and wishes, like Nemo did.
When school isn't a place you have to be, why not go to school where remote learning can be?
Number 7 is mood. The mood is how the story feels for the reader. Some stories, for example, feel happy, sad, or scary. For example, the mood of the story Finding Nemo is tense or stressful. The obstacles are scary, so the reader is often worried about Nemo. Number 8, tone. The author's tone shows the author's attitude or opinion toward details in the story. The tone can be positive, negative, sarcastic, sad, and etc. Feeling an author's tone is like hearing a speaker's tone. The way a person speaks about a topic shows how he or she feels about it. For example, in the book Finding Nemo, the author writes, "But today was Nemo's first day of school. He was very excited." Imagine the author saying these words. If we do this, we can feel that the author's tone toward Nemo is positive. Basically, this means that the author likes the character of Nemo. Now let's practice identifying literary elements. The story Crime and Punishment takes place in the 1860s in Russia. Most events happen in the city of St. Petersburg, and others take place in a prison in Siberia. Number 1. This information describes the A. mood, B. setting, or C. conflict.
All right, what do you guys think that this information describes? Shar lessons.
The setting?
The setting, that's absolutely correct.
Choose the answer, and we'll check the answers in a moment. In the story Prisoner B3087, the narrator says, "But it was too late. The Germans were here. If I had only known then what I know now, I would have run." Number 2, his what is pessimistic and scary.
What do you guys think this is? His A, setting, B, tone, or C, conflict? Let me have Jaden.
The tone?
The tone, absolutely. So the tone is really, really scary and pessimistic, meaning that it's really, really not positive. It's really negative.
A, setting, B, tone, or C, conflict. In Harry Potter, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are the people who make important decisions and actions in the story.
I got you, Devon.
Number 3, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are the main.
Harry, Ron, and Hermione are the main what, Jazana?
Characters?
The main characters. Good job.
A, characters, B, mood, or C, plot. In Hunger Games, the main character Katniss says, "It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make things fair. It doesn't fill our stomachs." Number 4, these words form a sad and desperate A, setting, B, mood, or C, plot.
Michelle. A, settings, B, mood, or C, plot? You're saying sad and desperate. Mood. That's correct.
In Twilight, Edward is a vampire who loves Bella. Edward wants to be close to Bella, but he is afraid he will hurt her. Number 5, this describes the what of the story. A, plot, B, conflict, or C, mood.
All right. Who can help me out with this one? Let's see. Zana, can you help me out with this one?
What?
Plot, absolutely, because it's telling what's happening. So the plot is basically the main point, the turning point of the story. So once this happens in the movie or the book, because Twilight even has a book, this is basically what happens at the peak of the story. So at the end, we're going to see who's most correct.
In The Kitchen God's Wife, Pearl is born in America and raised by immigrant parents who follow traditional Chinese customs. Number 6, in this story, one what is that a person can have two different cultures and love and value both of them.
Do you guys think this is A, conflict, B, theme, or C, mood? Number 6. Let me have Michelle.
B?
Okay. How many of you say that B is the correct answer? Okay. What about A, conflict? What about C, mood? So we said in this story, one blank is that a person can have two different cultures and love and value both of them. Which word most sounds accurate here? In this story, one conflict is that a person can have two cultures and love both of them. Jazana, you think A is correct? In this story, one theme is that a person can have two different cultures and love both of them. Okay, I got 2. So I got 1 for A, 2 for B. So the rest of you agree with C. Raise your hand if you think it's B. Okay. All my A's, raise your hand again. Okay, so I got 2 A's. And all my C's, raise your hand. Jaden and Dylan, do you think it's A, B, or C?
B.
B? Okay. Okay, Dylan. A, B, or C? Which one?
B.
B? All right. So I have 4 B's.
In Romeo and Juliet, Romeo Montague and Juliet Capulet meet at a party and fall in love. But their families hate each other. Romeo, Juliet, and other characters take actions that result in a tragic ending to the story. Number 7. These are some actions in the what?
A, setting. Okay. A, setting. Raise your hand if you think it's A. Okay, I got 1 A, 2 A's. Last call for A's. B, conflict. These actions in the blank of the story. These are actions in the blank of the story. In the conflict of the story. Anybody think it's B? Okay, no B's. These are actions in the plot of the story. All right, I got C, 3. What about B? Anybody voting for B? All right.
Of the story. A, setting, B. Conflict, or C. Plot. The story Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger is told by the main character of the story, Holden Caulfield. Number 8. Holden Caulfield is the what of the story?
What do you think, Zana?
E.
You said B?
A. Theme.
E.
C? Okay. Anybody else voting for C? Holden Caulfield is the narrator. Okay, I got 3 more. Anybody else? Michelle, do you have your hand up? I can't see you. Yes, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dylan, what do you think? You think it's C as well?
B.
B? Okay. All right.
B. Tone, or C. Narrator. Pause the video if you need to fill in any answers, and then we'll check the answers in a moment. Are you ready to check? The answer to number 1 is B. Setting. We know that these details describe the setting because the setting is the time and place of the story. The time of this story is the 1860s, and the places are St. Petersburg and a prison in Siberia in Russia. The answer to number 2 is B. Tone. We know the answer can't be A. Setting because these words don't tell us anything about the time or place of the story. And we know the answer can't be C. Conflict because these words don't tell us about the problem of the story that needs to be solved. So the only correct answer is B. Tone. The answer to number 3 is A. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are the people in the story Harry Potter.
Good job, Zana. She
So
gave
that
us
makes them the
that
characters.
answer.
The correct answer to number 4 is A. Mood. We know this is the answer because as we read these words by Katniss, these words create certain emotions or feelings for the reader. We know that the answer can't be B. Conflict because no problem is told in these words that needs to be solved in the story. And we know the answer can't be C. Plot because no events or actions in the story are stated in these words. So the only possible answer is A. Mood. The answer to number 5 is B. Conflict. We know this is the answer because these words explain to us the problem that needs to be solved in the story Twilight. What is the problem? The problem is that Edward is a monster, specifically a vampire, who loves Bella but might hurt her. Because Bella and Edward fall in love, by the end of the story, they have to solve the problem that Edward might hurt her if he's close to her.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the answer is not A. Plot because these words don't tell us any events or actions that take place in the story. And we know that the answer isn't C. Mood because these words tell us a problem. They might also make us feel certain emotions, but the statement tells us the problem in the story that needs to be solved. So the only possible answer is B. Conflict. The answer to number 6 is B. Theme. We know this is the answer because these words explain to us one message about life that the Kitchen God's Wife teaches readers. The message it teaches readers is a person can have 2 different cultures and love and value both of them.
Great job, class. That is the one that we mostly voted for, B.
We know that the answer is not A. Conflict because these words don't tell us a problem that needs to be solved. And it's not C. Mood because these words don't make a reader feel certain emotions. Rather, these words state a lesson or message that readers learn about life. The answer to number 7 is C. Plot.
Great job. Letter C is the most correct answer, and most of you voted for letter C for number 7.
The reason we know that this is the answer is because these sentences tell us 3 events that happen in the story. We know that the answer is not A. Setting because setting would tell us the time and place, and these sentences do not give us details about the time and place. We know that the answer is not B. Conflict because even though we get information about problems for the characters, we don't know the main problem that the characters need to solve by the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
We know events and actions that take place in the story, So for number 7, the correct answer is C, plot. The answer to number 8 is C, narrator.
And great job again. C is what most of us voted for number 8.
We know this is the correct answer because this sentence tells us who's telling the story. And who is telling the story? Holden Caulfield. He's also the main character of the story. That's not unusual for the main character to also be the narrator. We know that the answer can't be theme because this sentence doesn't really tell us a message or a lesson about life. And we know that the answer isn't B, tone, because this sentence just tells us details about the narrator and main character. It doesn't indicate how the author feels about that character. So the only possible answer is C. The end. Our lesson on literary elements for today is complete. I hope this video helped you understand what literary elements are and to identify them in stories. Thank you for watching.
Alright guys, did you enjoy that video? Okay, so can somebody tell me what are characters? Who can recall in the video what the author said characters are? Jaden.
People that are in the story.
Right, people and animals in the story. Absolutely. Can someone tell me what's a setting? If I say, Charlescence, explain to me the setting of Hunger Games. Okay, what am I telling you to find in reference to Hunger Games, Charlescence?
You're telling me to find like how it looks like and how it is detailed.
Okay, so what the story looks like, where it's detailed. What about when it takes place? Would that also be a setting?
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you. Plot. Can somebody tell us what a plot is? If I say find the plot of the story, what am I asking for, Charlescence?
You're asking for the important events and actions in the story.
Absolutely. Okay. Conflict. How many of you read a story and you like it because it's a problem in the story and you want to see how the character solves it, right? That's why we watch movies. That's why we love books. So, Michelle, can you explain to me what is a conflict?
A problem that has to be solved in the story.
A problem that has to be solved in the story. Can somebody tell me who is the person who tells the story? What is that called? Charlescence?
The narrator.
The narrator, absolutely. What about theme? Michelle, what is a theme?
The story's message about life.
The story's message about life or the overall lesson. Erica, can you tell me what is a mood? If I tell you to find the mood of a book that you love, what would you be looking for?
How the story feels for the reader.
How the story feels for the reader. Okay, so if you read Edgar Allan Poe stories, his stories are really dark and sad. So that's the feeling that he's supposed to get. Okay? Tone. The last thing is tone. Can someone tell us about tone? Go ahead, Charlescence.
The author's attitude towards details in the story.
Okay. Can a tone be positive or negative? So I have 4 B's.
Yes.
Yes, so it's how you say something, okay? If I say, guys, we're having a party, does it sound like I'm excited? No. But if I say, guys, we are having a party today, you guys are going to be more enthusiastic, more happy about the party, right? Any questions about mood and tone? Okay. So, the next thing that's on our to-do list is to choose our favorite book. Okay? So what we have to do is think about our favorite book, and we need to discuss the characters that are involved, where the story took place, the overall theme or the lesson learned in the story, when does the story take place, and finally, what challenges or conflict happen in the story, and how does characters respond to the challenge or issue. Okay, so if you could, guys, open up your Canvas. You're going to click on the literary elements on your favorite book. Okay, everybody there? So let's click on it together. And what we are getting ready to do is we're getting ready to choose our favorite book. So take a few minutes to brainstorm what your favorite book is. Okay? So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. Tell me or brainstorm what your favorite book is. And when you have it, let me know in the chat box. So what I need for you all to do is think about those movies and books that you put out there. Okay? Think about it. Who are the characters in your book? Where does the story take place? What is the overall theme or lesson learned in the story? When does the story take place? And finally, what challenges happen in the story? And how does characters respond to those challenges? You can use the internet to help you with any of the questions above. I gave you an example here and I'm going to read it for you, okay? So my favorite book is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The main characters of this book include Charlie Bucket, Mr. Wonka, Mrs. Bucket, Mr. Bucket, Grandpa Joe, Grandma Josephine, Grandpa George, Grandma Georgina, according to the internet. So if any question you look up on the internet, you need to say according to the internet. Everybody unmute and say it with me.
According to the internet.
According to the internet.
According to the internet. The time period that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory takes place is in the 1920s in England. Okay? So if you're not for sure, Erica, where Lion King takes place, you can look it up on the internet. But you have to say according to the internet. Remember, a setting can also include when it takes place. So for when the story takes place, make sure you include that along with where it takes place. Okay? What is the overall lesson learned or the theme? Well, throughout the story, Charlie was faced with many challenges. Coming from a poor family, not winning the golden ticket after buying multiples of candy bars, and even coming in encounter with kids who were mean, greedy, and selfish, but he never gave up. That's the overall theme. And some of the conflicts that he faced, of course, was the fact that he came in contact with the kids who were mean, greedy, and selfish. And he dealt with those by never giving up. Any questions about what we're supposed to be doing? All right, so I'm going to give you from now until 12:20. Okay? From now until 12:20, right before we leave class, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead and press reply on your end. And you guys can turn your cameras off if you want to work better. Be sure you're muted if you work listening to music. And let's get started on this assignment.